And so therapy is a big thing in our family. And there was a situation with Kendall Joy where we made sure she got therapy. And during that time, it was like, I wanted to give her space to say all the things, to do all the things, but I didn't want to be her therapist all the time. I just wanted to be her mom. Welcome to the Pink Society podcast. I am your co-host, DaNietra Hall, and this is my daughter and co-host,
Kendall Joy Hall.
And we welcome you to the Pink Society podcast. The Pink Society stands for Parenting Intentionally to Nurture a Kingdom Society. So we just want to kind of like jump into it and talk about our relationship, my parenting style, how she receives it, all those different things, because I think it's a very important conversation to talk about with so many things going on in our world, and how we can navigate that mother-daughter relationship, being transparent, and just, giving our children the tools to be confident in who God called them to be. You ready to get into it?
Yes.
All right. So
let's get into it.
Yeah. So today's topic is, I'm not your little friend, because I am your friend. Like, for me, I know that's really interesting, because I hear a lot of parents, even my parents was like, look, I ain't your little friend. Okay. And so there's this big thing around being your child's friend, and you have like a lot of people that are like, nah, that's what's wrong with this generation today, because you're trying to be their friend and not their parent. Where I feel like you can be both. I feel like there is a time and there is a place. I think that being their parent should always come first, but they should also know that they have a friend in their parent. How do you feel about that?
I definitely agree. As, someone that has a parent as a friend, well, parents as friends, because you're not only my friend, my dad is also my friend. But, I just feel like if we did have that relationship where you're like, oh, I'm not one of your little friends, I would probably be more closed off. And that's funny, because I do feel like I am like a very private person overall.
Yeah.
But
you are.
But like, I am very open with you guys.
Yeah.
And I would definitely be closed off. Definitely. Yeah. And I feel like that's not a good thing to have.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I think that's key. And I think it's key because being your child's friend, you confide in your friends, right? Friends are very important. And so those are the people that you confide in. They usually offer safe spaces, right? And there's a certain vulnerability with a friend, right? And I think like with you and Justin, so we have a 25-year-old son, who is Kendall Joy's older brother. I just think that he's my friend too. I love my son. Like we're just like, that's my boy, So like, just having a friend and a parent, but also knowing, like I always tell you, you don't have to tell me everything. I don't expect my kids to tell me everything, but I do expect them to tell me enough as it pertains to their safety. I don't have to know everything, and neither do I want to know everything. There's certain things that as a mom, I don't want to know, but I do want to know that they feel safe. And they don't feel judged. I think that, having a parent, that's what I had in my father. He was a person who did not judge me. I could tell my father anything, and he would be like, oh, okay, well, get back up. You got my blood running through your veins. You'll be okay. And that was just that. He just never judged me. He always made me feel that no matter what I did, I could overcome, and so that was something that I learned from him, wanting to instill in you guys, just having that freedom, to be able to come to a parent if you wanted to, or if you needed to.
Well, I did want to say something about what you said.
Okay, go ahead.
I feel that when kids don't tell their parents, like of course you don't have to tell your parents everything, but when you're not open with your parents, mm-hmm. and you don't have like that, friend rapport. Kind of like, mm-hmm. rapport.
Yeah. It's like that relationship, that familiarity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When you don't have that, then it closes off the ability to get wise counsel, as you would say. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's important. That is important. But it's also important to recognize, I think it's important to say that every parent can't offer that, right? Mm. I think that that's important, because a lot of times we want a parent to be a certain way, and they don't show up in the way that is up in our head. Like, oh, a father should be this, or a mother should be that. And so, it would be nice to have that in your parent, but on the flip side, if you are a child watching this and your parent may not have the tools to be there for you in that way, right? And so I think that that's something worth saying, because it's like you have to work through whatever it is that you could be, the personality or character traits that are not showing up in your parent. You have to kind of like grieve that, right? And so therapy is a big thing in our family. And there was a situation with Kendall Joy where we made sure she got therapy. And during that time, it was like, I wanted to give her space to say all the things, to do all the things, but I didn't want to be her therapist all the time. I just wanted to be her mom. So I think we have to talk about, how important therapy can be, how important having a relationship with God can be, how all these things can be pivotal in, kind of shaping the relationship between a child and a parent.
Yeah.
Yeah, and mother-daughter relationships can be hard. I think that's the thing that that's a taboo thing that people don't want to talk about. It's like, because remember, the customer is always right. Well, you don't remember that, but we come up in a time.
I do actually know that.
Okay,
yeah,
where the customer was always right. And so it's kind of like mom was always right. I grew up in an era where you could not say anything back. You did not have a voice, even if it was an opinion. Sometimes you asked the wrong question, right? So it was like when a parent takes that type of precedence over the shared space that they have with their child, I think it can dim who that child is trying to become. Does that make sense?
Yes. That does make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I remember watching. I think we were like really trying to learn more about the monarchy, the British monarchy, the kingdom, the Queen.
Yeah, the documentary.
Yes, we watched a couple, but one of them was her son. She was coming from a trip. Yeah, do you remember that? Yeah.
I know exactly what you're gonna say.
And she was cold. Like, this is a little boy. He's greeting his mother. He's not greeting the Queen. Like, he just wanted his mommy in that moment. And she was cold. And I was like, whoa. And here you are as a child trying to process, you just want to hug your mom.
And the little boy was, I'm not going to say any names because they know who we're talking about. It's okay. They can look up this. Because I didn't know if that was it's rude or something.
No, it's fine.
I actually don't know who the little boy is, but
I want to say, wasn't it God rest her soul, the Queen Elizabeth, and wasn't it her son Philip?
Oh,
not Philip. No, that was her husband, right? Whoever's currently reigning right now.
I know for a fact that it was. I think it was Queen Elizabeth.
Yeah,
but I don't know which.
Yeah,
I don't know who the boy was.
I want to say I don't know, but anyway,
she does have.
Prince Charles. That's who it was. Yeah,
she does have multiple
Prince Charles.
Children.
Charles. Yeah.
But I do have to say, like, there was another clip, and I think, and people can correct me if I'm wrong, it was Princess Diana, and she was the exact opposite. Yeah. She like hugged her children, like she showed emotion. Yeah, but that's why, but we can get into that all day, but that's another reason why she wasn't really accepted, because she was the people's choice. And she was very relatable to people, right? So I just mentioned that to say that no matter who you are, no matter what you do in life, you could be a celebrity, you have millions of fans, you can, rule the world, but at the end of the day, if you are a parent, if you have decided to bring life into this world, that you have a responsibility to the life that you brought into this world, right? So sometimes it's really disheartening when you hear people who have these like fancy jobs and all of these great things that they do, right? A lot of times we've heard even ministers' children say that their life was sacrificed because their parents, whoever was, serving the church, served the church or the parishioners or the congregation or whoever it was, more than they did their home. And it's like I've heard a lot of kids that grew up with parents as leaders in the church, and they're like, I didn't have my mom or my dad because they were always with the people at church. And I think that we have to understand that our home is our first ministry. And for me, that means getting to know my kids, like getting to know my kids in a way that I didn't get to know my parents. So it's like I would always think like a lot of times, even with my mom, like it's like, were you ever my age before? Like, you know what I mean? It was like, it was always this like, oh, I was this great child and all of these great things. And maybe she was, maybe she was, but it was like, I always, at every stage with my children, I always want to give them stories of how I, could relate to you guys. So can you tell us something maybe that you learned about me that's probably maybe you thought was silly, or I don't know? Ooh.
that you can say on camera, because I tell her a lot. See, we're friends, and I'll be like, "Don't listen. I'm telling you this. Do not repeat this." So that lets you know, that pause, that we're real friends, because she knows some stuff about her mom. So.
I can't think of anything like silly. The most like prominent like memory that I have like as of this year is your yearbook. Like I feel like that's not silly, but that was just like really iconic for me to see your high school yearbook, because it showed like how like the impact that you had with the people in your school, and you were in so many like groups, like you were in so many I
think they call them like auxiliaries or like extracurricular activities.
Extracurriculars. Yeah. And then some of the groups you were like, oh yeah, I don't even like remember I don't even remember like what that was for, you know?
Yeah.
One thing that I do find like silly, like now that we're on the subject, is how you were talking about your senior year and how like you weren't really like, you were at school, but you weren't really like
at school
because you had already done your classes in the previous years. So you only had like a few. So you would just, as you say, coast.
Yeah. I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm over. This is all. This is, you know, this is pretty much it. And that's interesting that you bring that up, because our situations are very different. So I grew up in Detroit, and you know, I went to a very big high school there, and I never really was in a clique. Like I always like stood on my own. And it's, you know how like you try to tell your kids different situations about you in high school, or maybe not, I don't know. But I was pretty much a popular person in school, and I kind of like stood on my own. And sometimes people who she's met from my high school, they were like, yeah, you know, your mom was like the girl in the school and da 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 da. And so I think when she saw my yearbook,
that was like that was like evidence. Like of course I believed it, but that was just like evidence of like everything that was said being true, and also the fashion, you know. Yeah, the fashion as well.
Yeah,
that was
I've always been classic. Like I try to teach her that too. Like you can be trendy, and that's great, but always have a sense of a classic. A classic. Oh my god,
and the leather too. Like
Okay, so this is a funny story. So my husband actually went to TSU, and he one of his dorm mates was a guy that went to school with me, and he was like, oh yeah, you know, do you know DaNietra? And he's like, oh my god, yes, like she used to wear leather like every day. And I'm like, shut up, I did not wear leather.
But I saw the pictures, and I don't know if you can edit that in, but there is pictures of like you wearing like these so leather outfits, which I think is really cool.
That is so funny. I you know, well, okay, whatever. But I didn't think I wore leather like every day. But I thought, I was like, you know, I was grown, like, you know, wearing leather first, like, you know. That's so funny. But what I think is really interesting is that because she's homeschooled, she's been homeschooled ever since the 3rd grade. So she hasn't had that in school experience. And so she would always be like, oh, I want to be, well, you used to say this like in middle school. You used to be like, oh, I'm going to be the popular girl. And I'm like, but you are. But you are. I know it's hard for you to like realize that, but you are. You are because that's just who you are, and it's not because you're trying to be. You know, and I think a lot of times, especially nowadays, we think popular, we think mean girls, right? And that's definitely, I wasn't like that, and
No.
you know, and she's definitely not like that at all. I probably had a little bit more spunk, you know, on my the other side, yeah, a little top lip, top bottom. You're taking it all off. Hold on. Okay. There we go. She's right. Now she's got like probably lipstick all. No, you're good. You're good. But I just lost my train of thought.
You were talking about popular girls.
Yeah, but you know, you already have main character energy. That's just who you are.
I definitely feel like I have main character energy, but not popular girl energy. And I'm not saying that because I'm not mean, but like when someone is popular, like say if, you know, say if like Beyonce walked into a room, people would be like, oh my God, that's Beyonce. Oh my God. That's like Beyonce. And I know that that's like the biggest exaggeration, but
they do that to you too.
I don't.
You don't recognize it. You don't even know when a boy likes you, so you don't know those things. Your social cues are not there yet, and it's fine. Some people just never get it, and no.
Yeah, I probably won't ever get it, but yeah, I just have never like noticed that.
But I don't see. Here's the thing: are you looking for it?
No.
That's why you don't notice it. You're not looking for it, and I'm not saying that you should look for it. I don't want you to change who you are. But that's what I'm trying to say. It's like you don't notice a lot of things because you're not looking for it. You're just living your life.
Yeah.
Right?
You know that.
What?
You know what that kind of reminds me of?
What?
How you were saying I don't pick up on social cues. Remember when I was I like 3 or like 4? No, it was when you were potty training me.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah. So like we had just moved to Tennessee. No, we didn't just move. We were there. But I had to go somewhere at like this was a place. It wasn't maybe it was the DMV, but they did I think they did more stuff there, and it was like at the time, so it was like in 2009 possibly. Yeah, it's probably like around 2009, and I think you were about 2 years old. Like, I mean, you were a baby, so that's not like social cues. I mean, like you're a baby.
Oh yeah.
You're potty training, and I had to go to the bathroom. No, you had to go to the bathroom. That's what it was. You had to go to the bathroom. And so, you know, like when you're potty training, it's like, man, this is such an inopportune time, but I gotta take her. So I take her to the bathroom, and there's like people taking like driver's tests. It's like really like in the country, it's like a bunch of just like stuff going on at this place. And so the bathroom is like a one stall, like you go in and it's like a one person, you know, like you're in there. There's no stall to go in. You're in there. And so there's like this thick opening at the bottom of the door so anybody can hear what is going on inside the bathroom.
Like it was really echoey.
Yeah. So she uses the bathroom, and you know, that's that. And then, you know how like when somebody has to go to the bathroom, now you have to go to the bathroom. So I'm like, okay, stand there. Mommy's got to use the bathroom. So I'm literally, and this is so kind of graphic, but I'm literally mid pee, and she's jumping up and down. Yay, mommy! You're such a big girl. You pee like a big girl, and I'm like, no, no.
Because you would always say that to me.
I know, and so like that is just so that's just such a funny story about us that. Yeah, but I don't think it's like your social cues. I think that's just you just being a kid. You're right. You're just being a kid.
Yeah.
With that I was so mortified. I was like, should I go? Should I like leave out? What should I do?
You know what? Mm-hmm. I actually have a question. Mm-hmm. So you have like made it clear that when I was a baby, I wasn't the most tranquil child.
You were trying to be nice. You were a terror.
Yeah, I was. Mm-hmm. I was a screamer. And
yeah, you had tantrums. Yeah. There was a lot going on. Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to ask, it's probably easier, or not easy. I know parenting isn't easy, but it's probably easier, like, being like a friend parent now, but like how did it feel trying to parent me before I turned 3.5?
Okay,
when
so wait I know. So how old were you when I started to like you?
I was 3.5.
There we go. Bingo.
Yes.
What have I always with you? I've always what?
Loved me.
There we go.
Yes.
I've always loved her.
But you never... Well...
But honey, I never liked you. No, just kidding. But no, it's just a funny joke.
You liked me when I was 3.5.
It's just a funny joke because she was a very difficult child. And it's so funny because people that know her now, that just seems like... Even we know her now. Like it's the weirdest thing because she's so very different now. But I think when a child is that young... You don't think about being their friend, right? When a child is like a toddler and a baby, at that point you're just trying to make sure they, have the bare minimum. You know what I mean? Make sure they eat. Make sure they don't step on something or put something in their mouth they're not supposed to. So in those moments, I'm just gonna be honest. I don't think I was worried about or concerned about being your friend.
Yeah, focusing on that.
Yeah, I was just maybe so focusing on the other stuff. But I think my aha moment, though, that I had with you made me realize, I was like, oh, I'll never forget. She was like 3.5 and she was sitting on my bed and we were having a conversation. I don't even know what we were talking about, but she was making full sentences. Like, it was like she was talking, right? And we were like, vibing, and I was like, wow, she cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she's cool people. And I was like, I think I like her.
But
ever since you can you remember us being cool?
Yes.
Yeah, like we haven't had like a tumultuous like situation. So like ever since then we've been like ever since then we've been really cool. And this is really interesting. So during the time, I don't know if I was pregnant with you, but I remember watching. I used to be a really huge Kamora Lee Simmons fan. Hey, Kamora, if you're out there, but I used to watch her with her kids. She had two girls at the time. I know she has more children now, but at the time it was just her 2 girls, and I would watch her. Incorporate her girls in everything that she did, at least from what we saw on her TV show. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make sure I do that, with my daughter. And I think that really kind of like opened up my eyes to kind of make sure, because you've been acting since she was 4, so like business deals, like you've been in meetings ever since you were little.
Yeah, you
decided, when we expanded your team,
Mm-hmm.
That was a decision you made at 6.
Yeah, I actually do remember that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
With my agent, my old agent that we met in Atlanta,
mm-hmm.
you turned to me and you were like, what do you think?
Yeah.
And then, there would be other times where after meetings, we'd just like be driving in the car. And you'd like yell so that I could hear like in the back, like, okay, so what do you think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you were probably
really
still in like a car seat.
Yeah.
You had like a car seat for a long time. I know, that's funny. The
like
little
a
booster seat. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so funny. And she's like making boss moves. And yeah, so what is another funny thing that your dad always reminds me of is your first word. Do you remember that?
Well, I would assume that my first word was mama.
Mm-mm. No. According to your dad, your first word was DaNietra, which is my government name. Isn't that funny? Yes. So I think that is so funny.
Wow.
Yes, you've always been a very different child.
I wouldn't have thought that like a baby could say 3 syllables.
Yeah. But you definitely did say mama before you said dada. Yeah, definitely. So, yeah. So we've been cool from a long time, girl. Like we've been really cool. So,
yes.
Yeah, like I also love how confident you are. I think it's I used to always think that it's important to be confident having a, same gender child. But I also feel like because I have a boy and a girl, I just want to say this is parenting, right? Podcast, is that it's really important to show up fully for your male child too, like fully in your femininity. Show them that soft side. And I'm just in a very privileged place that I do have a husband that I can be that. I know that's not everybody's situation, but if you can be that soft place to land for your male child, to show them feminine power, to show that softer side, I think that is really, really key. And also be that friend that they need, in a mom. Our son is looking for a place right now, and he texts me like, hey, show me a video, like, Ma, this is what I think, da 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 da, and I'm like, okay, you work tomorrow? He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, well, I'll go out for you tomorrow, so just having that, that's a testament for me, just having a relationship with both of you in that way.
Yeah.
Where, that's important, that I think that's very important. And then,
I do actually want to say something really quick. That kind of how you were talking about Justin, that does remind me of, I remember you'd tell me that he used to watch wrestling, and you would watch it with him. Yeah, I even took him. Me and him went to a wrestling, WrestleMania or whatever, WWE or whatever it's called. They came. Wow.
This was because he was in it when we were still living in Nashville at the time, and yeah, we went. John Cena was his dude, like that was his guy, and and I was like, yeah, you can't see me. So yeah, it's like one of those things. It's so funny because when I had Justin, when I knew I was having a boy, I was really upset. I was like, what am I gonna? I was like, what am I gonna do with the boy? This is crazy. Why would I have a boy? Like, what am I gonna do with a boy? And it's just so interesting because God knows what you need, right? And I really needed Justin when I had him.
So do I. I mean, not to make everything about me.
No, you're good. We're talking. It's all good.
he is a really great brother. So I also need him.
I wanted to make sure I fostered an environment where there was like, and it's probably easier because of the age gap too. So that's a thing too. It could be, I don't know, but I do know people that have an age gap that they're not close either. So, I don't know, but the age gap and then the different genders, because I think that lessens a sense of competition. I know a lot of people that have the same genders, close in age.
Yeah.
And they have like this competition thing going on, and sometimes parents perpetuate that. Like, how come you can't get good grades like this person? How come you can't run fast like that person? How come, so then it just fosters, sometimes a jealous environment or competitive environment, which I didn't want to do that. And so when she came along, it was more so like, we celebrated Justin. Like, you are becoming a big brother. And so we actually had a party because he was becoming a big brother. And I think,
didn't you have a separate baby shower?
Yeah,
for
we
him?
did. Yeah, a big brother shower. We sure did. Yeah. And then yes, he did. We have our producers reminding us some stories that he did. He did ask for you. He wanted a sibling.
Wow.
So he was very excited about that. But some people ask. We all ask for things, and then we get them, and then send it back. We usually have buyer's remorse. So I think that, that doesn't always turn out to be good either. But this just so happened to be that way because I think, we have to create those environments, create those safe spaces. Like people look at her now because she has been on TV. She has a very public career. But they don't realize that she was supporting her brother. She literally grew up on the baseball field. Yeah. So, that was our life for many, 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 many years. And so she grew up being his number one fan on the baseball field. So, but that's not, he's not in the major leagues now, but, or else people probably would know that, but because, you have a more public career, people may think that, he's your biggest fan, but that kind of started off the other way around.
It's kind of like mutual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely mutual. Yeah, definitely. So lastly, to kind of want to wrap this up a little bit, but how does it feel being in the industry that you're in, having the support from the parents that you have? And let me kind of set this up a little bit, because speaking of sports, she did pageantry earlier on. We see a lot, and then obviously in the industry, we see a lot of parents placing value based upon what their children do. So it's like, okay, if you play a particular sport, and depending on how good you are in that sport, if you are in pageants and if you win a crown, if you are in acting, and you, depending on your bookings, is your value, right? That's just not how we roll in this household. So can you kind of speak to that, and maybe just being able to pursue your career at an early age, like how, tell a story about how and why you got started, and how does it feel to have the support that you have from your family?
Well, I got started because I saw my brother watching iCarly on TV. And I looked up and I was like, oh, I wanna be on there. And you know, I was 3 years old, so I didn't really have like the full vocabulary to express myself. So my mom was just like, oh, you're just saying that. But, you know, I kept asking and saying things related to acting. So then, your friend, this part of the story is kind of
Charlene.
Like fuzzy to me. But,
it's okay. I can kind of interject a little bit. Shout out to Auntie Charlene. Hey, girl. But Lean, she'd called me and said that she had an agent. She just came out of remission. Well, just came. I think she just like got healed from breast cancer, and so she was like, you know, before she was, you know, going through that she had an agent. And so in my mind, it didn't really compute because she is a real estate agent, right? So I was like, agent, and all I can think of was like real estate, and she's like, no, girl, for your baby, like call my agent.
It feels good. It does feels good to have parents, a family that because we all had to do this, travel to California, Los Angeles, and it feels good to have a family that's like that doesn't dismiss my passion.
You know, that's good because as you said, the beginning of the story was, you know, you were 3 years old saying that you wanted to be on TV, and I was like, and that was dismissive. Yeah. I'm like, little girl, go sit down. Like,
but
you know,
the thing is, but children do say a lot of things like, oh, I want to be a unicorn. But
what I want to say is to tie into that. The next thing that you said was when you booked it at, you did that role at 4. Yeah, you were 4. To see how professional at 4 years old she was on set, because this was more so like a Duracell industrial, right? So it wasn't like a commercial. It was one of those stories. It was actually you played the younger version of Patrick Willis's sister, the former San Francisco 49er. And this was like their story, and they had like one of those stories where a family took them in, right? And it was like they were showing like the dramatic, right? So this wasn't like just a kid playing on the playground. This was like, you know, she had to show like some emotion and all of those different things. And seeing her on that set at 4 years old and consciously knowing what she was doing and being comfortable, being professional, because a lot of times people will be like, oh, you know, I just want my kid to be a kid. And that's fine. We'll let them be a kid, and they should not be in the industry. Because sometimes people think, oh, my kid is cute, my kid has personality. But there's a professional component that I think children in this industry need to have, because they're getting paid just like the camera guy, just like this. So if they're running around set, it's really not a good thing. So when I saw that she just had a true gift at 4, I think that kind of blew me away, because I've struggled all my life trying to figure out what it is I should be doing, like literally as an adult. And at 4, it was like, this is one of the things that I think she would really be good at. And so I think because of that, I was able to see you blossom and grow. And then it wasn't until we got to LA, you kind of like did all that you can do in Nashville. When we got to LA, you were a month shy from turning 9. And during that time, I don't know how things are now, but during that time, they say kids shouldn't get like acting classes until they're about 9 years old. And so when we got here, that's when she started like acting classes and things like that. And I think what's ironic is that you saw your brother watching like Disney and Nickelodeon, but she's never been on those networks.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Yeah. I would say that my heart belongs to drama.
Yeah,
definitely. Not to throw shade to.
No, but I think what's interesting is that that's how you started. Your very first role. That's the point I'm trying to make. At 4 years old, even though it was like this industrial project, it was a dramatic scene.
Yeah.
And so from there, when we got here, there's been, it was Grey's Anatomy, it was 911, it was, Good Trouble, all these different roles that offered you to have some emotion show up in a way that I was like, where is she pulling this from? Because she has a very cushy life. You know what I mean? Like, where is she getting all this deep stuff from? But, that's good training, good training. But yeah, I think that that's really cool that, that you have been able to do that. And we've been on this journey together and been able to be friends. I really enjoy the friendship that we have. Us striving to communicate so that the lines are more clear and not blurred is helpful in our friendship and in our mother-daughter relationship. Because there's been times where it's if you didn't ask a certain question, and if I was just like, I'm your mother, don't be asking me, it's because, things can go like haywire just because there's not a proper breakdown of communication.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say that. But, we thank you for joining us. They want us to wrap up, so we're going to wrap up.
Yes.
And thank you so much for joining us at the Pink Society Podcast.